Hey, my name is Fraser. I'm currently working on my game rated Mutant, and you are now watching part of my tutorial series on how to make a text RPG slash adventure in Python. So, this is part two. If you haven't seen part one, you might want to go ahead and watch that. That is more for the beginners, though. So, if you are not a beginner and you just want to see how we're going to go about this game, then we can continue on with part two. So we need to define our scope. What do we plan to do? On my list of things, I have we want to create a character with classes, like a custom character. We want to be able to level up. We want to be able to use, find, and sell items. We want to be able to fight and die. And then we want like status elements, you know. You can kind of think of the RPG we're creating as like a very crappy version of Pokemon, kind of, if you like you were the Pokemon, if you will. For this tutorial, you actually do not need many resources. All you need is a computer and or tablet, access to the internet. We're not even going to be downloading any programs or anything like that. We're going to be doing this directly in our browser, so you can go ahead and go to the website that I'm linking below, or you can find a Python 3 online compiler of some kind if you want to use your own. You know, whatever preference you want, the code should be pretty universal. So yeah, just head over to that website, and I will see you guys in a second with some code. All right, so let's get into this. I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively apologize for one, my extremely loud mechanical keyboard, and two, my really squeaky chair. So we're gonna go through a bunch of things very fast. Just do what I'm doing. The code will obviously be in the description, and yeah, let's just get into it. So first things first, we're gonna import a few libraries that we're gonna be using later. Uh, I should also mention that a lot of the things we're writing now we're going to be using later. So don't worry if by the end of the video we haven't used everything. Just wait on it. We're going to import time. Ooh, that's it. Import time. We're going to import math. We're going to import random. Once again, those are just libraries that will allow us to use some things that we want. So first, we're going to define a list called class types, and this is going to be our classes. So here you can be as creative as you like. I am not particularly creative when it comes to RPG making, so I'm just going to go with some baseline things. Let's go mage. We're going to do barbarian, archer, and bonk person. Yes, bonk person is a class. Notice here I used an open bracket and a closed bracket. Each thing I defined has quotes in between it and a comma between, right? So like we talked about with list before, they're just a box that holds things. So mage is 0, barbarian is 1, archer is 2, bonk person is 3, even though there are 4 items here. Gotta remember, in programming, we start things at 0, not 1. As it goes, we're gonna do some let's define some stat names, right? So stat names are basically the stats we're going to attribute. A big part of RPGs is stats. So let's do attack, speed, defense, special power, for those special attacks, and how about health? So we have class types and stat names. So now why don't we define the stats for the class types? So now here's where things get a little bit more complicated. We're going to define what is called a two-dimensional list. And if you don't know what that is, go back and watch the video before this. It'll explain it. So we're going to call it class stats. We're going to set equal to open bracket. And then we're going to do another open bracket, comma, open close brackets, comma, open close brackets, comma, open close brackets. So each of these boxes are going to attribute to each individual class type. So this box will represent mage, this box will represent barbarian, this box will represent archer, this box will represent bonk person. So let's see. Why don't we give mage an attack of 3, uh, speed of 5, defense of 5, special power of 10, and let's give it 100 health. Barbarians, they should have better attack, right? So let's give it an attack of 10, speed of 7, defense of 3, special power of 3, and a health of 100. And then we're going to go over here. This one's for Archer. We're going to give archers an attack of 7, speed of 10, because they have to be nimble and quick and agile and whatnot, because they're archers. Defense of 5. They have no special powers because they're just archers. And give them some health. Now, bonk person, very well rounded because they got a bonk, so we're going to give them a 5 attack, 6 defense, speed, sorry, gotta remember. So yeah, 5 attack, 6 speed, 5 defense, 6 special power, and 100 health. Ooh. Center there, and now we're gonna do, let's define P name, and that is your player name, and we're gonna set that to an empty string. So an empty string is just 2 quotations. And then, players have to have stats as well. So let's do P stats. Notice what I'm doing with my variable names, where each word starts with an uppercase in it. So like class is lowercase, but stat has the first letter uppercase. That's called camel case. That's just a good way to increase the readability in your programs. You don't actually have to do that if you don't want to, but I do suggest that you do it. P stats. And then just like we defined before, we're going to define attack, and it's going to be 0. We're going to decide that, so attack 0, speed 0, defense 0, special power 0, health is always 0. That is just so that we can visually see what's happening for us. You don't actually have to define it that way. It's not necessary, but it's just good to see. So then we're going to define something called stat adjustment. This is for something that we're using. This is just for something we're going to use later. You don't have to mind this very well. Just do what I'm doing. Set it all to 0. We'll get back to that at a different time. We want our player to have a class, right? And we're going to set it to -1 for the time being. Eventually, P class will hold what number here, what number class type it is. So like I said, eventually it'll hold either 0, 1, 2, or 2 or 3, as we mentioned before. And then let's define money, which is going to equal to 500. And if you want to keep the style, let's go P money, right? Because that's the player's money. And then let's do P status. And we're going to set equal to fine, meaning that they are A-OK. And we're going to define the P level because we want to level up as well. So let's do P level is equal to 0, 0. And P experience, which is also equal to 0 because they don't have an experience right now at all. All right. So this is a lot to do with our player itself and the class, like the character building. But we're going to add a few more things that we're going to use later, just so we don't have to do it later. So we're going to set current location equal to home. And then we're going to define places to travel equal to, and this is going to be another 2-dimensional list. And the first thing we're going to hold, so we're going to have one thing that holds, so yeah, this is going to be another 2-dimensional list. First box is going to hold the actual places. So we're going to do Udragoth. Shout out to Dave the Barbarian. We're going to do Castlevania. We're going to do, I don't know, Milktown. And we're going to do home, which is where we are, right? Like that matches this. And then we're going to give them some random distances for the second part. So we're going to do 200, 300, 75, and 0. All that is completely random. It really doesn't matter what numbers you put in there as long as that they are positive. And we're going to say distance to home is equal to 0. Let's see, what else are we missing? We are missing a few things though. Let's do activity menu. This is going to be our list of activities. We're going to do view stats, travel, shop, inventory. And so that basically is just going to be our menu for when we get to that part. And then we're going to do items to buy. So this is going to be the things that we're going to allow you to buy. And we're going to allow you to buy. Yeah. Well, actually, first we're going to do another two-dimensional list. And this first part of it is going to be items to buy. So let's do potion, because you got to get your potions on. And do burn heal. Do ice heal. We're going to do stat boost. We will go through what those items are in the part where we go through the store. And we're going to set the prices to 100, 50, 50, and 200. And now we're going to define items to buy. Another two-dimensional list. And then we are going to, we could actually just copy and paste these first four. And then we're going to also add cheap base. Expensive base. And garbage. And this is just going to give us some things to find later on /sell. And we're going to define the values as far as pricing, we're going to, like I said, we're just going to copy and paste what we did for the first part and then add the extras. So we have 100, 50, 50, 200. And then we're also going to add 25, 300, and 0. Once again, those numbers don't actually matter. Just make sure that this matches up with these and that this matches up with that. That's really the only important part. Let's see, are we missing anything here? You know, for now, this is fine. Oh, right, and inventory. Definitely forgot about defining an inventory, which is just going to be a list. And then we're going to add something in there to begin with. We're going to make you start with a potion. All right. Now, we're going to define a few functions really quick. Now, I'm just going to do this really fast. We will get into how they work as it goes. Find index in list. So in Python, we define functions starting with def, and then you can write your arguments, which in our case would be item and my list, and then colon. Got to end in colon. So we're going to do found index is equal to -1. Do for I in range of the length of my list if item equal my list I tab found index is equal to I break found index. So what is happening in this function. Basically, if we give this function a list and an item, so let's say the list is activity menu and the item is view stats. Let's say I want to be like, hey, where is view stats in this list? Like what number? Then I can use this function, I can call it. So it says found index to -1. -1 denotes that we couldn't find something. So in our program, it defines that we couldn't find something or it doesn't currently exist. So here, this is a for loop, like I said, good for counting. So we said start at 0 and then go until you've reached the maximum number of items in the list. If you find it, then set the value equal to where it is. So like it would go through this list and it would say, oh, view stats is 0. So found index is 0, and then it breaks out of the loop. So this stops, and then it returns found index. So another example is if we're looking for inventory and activity menu, it would go, oh, view stats, no, that's not it. Travel, no. Shop, no. Inventory matches inventory, and therefore it is at index 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's define more functions. This one's called table to text. Or actually, let's call it list to text because I don't want to confuse anybody. Can't use this. Let's do my list. So that red you saw means it was a reserved word. Reserved words meaning you can't use it as a variable. The list of text is a very simple thing. We're going to start out with defining a variable. I'm going to call it combined text, and it's going to be equal to a string, and we're going to use \n. \n in programming means new line. So we're going to do for I in range of the length of my list, colon, combined text is equal plus equals, which means we're gonna, so first off, I guess it should explain, right? So we can write combined text is equal to combined text plus, so we're gonna do str, which means string. We're gonna convert I, which is a number, to a string. We're gonna say plus quotation parenthesis space plus table, my list I plus \n, and then we're gonna return combined text plus \n. So let's actually see what this does. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to say print list of text open quotation, and we're going to feed it. We're going to feed it activity menu. So let's see what happens. Press run. And I forgot a colon. I just told you guys about the colon, then I forgot one. Let's see, right here. Forgot a colon. Programmers make mistakes. It's the first thing that you will learn. And see, it prints 0 view stats, 1 travel, 2 shop, 3 inventory. So all list of text did was print out what we needed it to, it'll help us print menus. That's all that does. So I see that here, I was going to write something and I changed. It says combined text is equal to combined text plus all of this. Instead of writing all of that, this is just another way to write plus equal. And then we can go about our lives doing that as well. From now on, you'll see me use things like plus equal, minus equal. I only wrote it the first way to begin with, just so no one is confused. And we can get rid of that and then continue defining functions. So now we're going to find another function and we're going to say def check menu. Hold on, let me adjust a little bit for OBS so that I can see. To the top. There we go. Better. And this is going to take in a question. It's going to take in a list name. I'm going to take in is cancelable. Set this equal to false. So I know this looks a little funky with the is cancelable equal false. Typically we weren't doing this like this, right? We were defining variables at the top differently. But so what's happening here is basically that this is required, this is optional. If you don't provide anything, then the answer is false typically. So that is what we're going with. You don't have to worry about that too much. It'll get easier as it comes, I promise. So we're going to do index is equal to, we're going to do input, and we're going to set the question plus table to text, or rather list to text, list name. Now, input prints out something and then allows you to give a response in the console. So what we're going to do here is we want index to be an integer. So that means we need to cast. So cast means making something into a different type. Programming loves types. So we need to set it to int. So we're going to write int in the front, open, and close. While true, colon, if is cancelable, and index equal -1, return index. Elif, which just means else if, which is so like there's if and then it's like check this one and then we can do elif forever or then finally do else. We're gonna do elif index is less than 0 or index is greater than the length of my list -1, colon. We're going to do index is equal to input invalid choice, please try again, \n. We're going to write else, return index. So basically this is going to help us print out our menus properly and actually get to the answers we need. We can actually go ahead and try this out, right? So we can do value is equal to check menu range. Question is going to be what would you like to do? And we're going to give it, I don't give it activity menu. And then we're going to not put anything for if it's cancelable because we don't want it to be cancelable. Not right now. And then we can print value at the end to see what we got. All right, so now let's see if this is running and good to go. So we're going to press run. We're going to pull up this so you guys can see what's happening. What would you like to do? We're going to type in -1. Choice, how about -4? Looks like it broke. Let's see what happened. Wow, I can already tell what's happening. Can you guys tell? So first of all, we set this to my list. That is not the name, right? It is actually list name. And also, I talked all this big talk about casting, and then I didn't do it right here. We have to cast again because we are looking for a number in this case. We are only comparing numbers. So then we're gonna try run again. Let's bring it back up. What would you like to do? Let's do -1. Valid choice, how about -6? Valid choice, how about 6? Valid choice. Now how about 2? And 2 prints out, which means that what we did was successful and we can continue on. So let's just delete that. And then we're going to define another function. We're going to call it star line. And it's going to take in num rows and num sleep. Colon. And then here, what we're going to do is define a variable. We're going to call it combined text. And it's going to be equal to \n. Sorry. Forgot what we were doing for a second. We're going to define a variable called starLine, and that is going to be equal to star times 10. Now, if you're curious what's happening there, basically I'm saying this variable is going to be equal to 10 of those stars. I could have just wrote out all 10 stars, but programmers are lazy, so we like to use shorthands. And then we're going to do for I in range of num rows, colon, we are going to print out star line. Actually, I already made a mistake again. Do you guys see what I did? I named the function and the variable the same name. We cannot do that. So we're going to change this to S line. And then we're going to change this to S line. And then the last part of this function is going to be, we're going to use that time library from up top, time.sleep. We're going to set it to num sleep. So all this does is going to be able to break up, the text as it's coming out, give it some timing that way that it's not just a constant blur of text and we can actually read some stuff. So now we are done our initial functions and we can actually get to the next part, which is defining our actual character. We're actually going to, find out who our character is, rather. So let's give some spacing again, just so you guys can see everything. And then from here, we're going to do p name, like we used from before, is equal to input. What is your name? \n. And then we're going to put print. Welcome to the wonderful world of Magic Land. Plus p name, which is the name of our character at this time, plus exclamation point. Then we're going to do star line 3, 1. So now just to see, what does that do? Let's run it. What is your name? My name is Tez. Welcome to the wonderful world of Magic Land, Tez. And we have the 3 stars, and it waited a little bit. It was a short wait, but it did wait. So let's keep going. We're going to do for I in range of the length, class types, print class types I plus colon. So what are we doing here? We're going to print out the class types from up above so that you can choose one. So it's going to say mage, barbarian, archer, pawn person. But remember that the individual actual stats is a 2-dimensional array. So this is actually where we're going to learn how to use them. So the next line after this is going to be for J in range of the length. The length of class stats I. So class stats I, so if we go up here, that means for each of these individual boxes, class stats I, colon, we're going to do print stat names I, stat names J, and then we're going to do class stats I, J. So basically this will be like, oh, Archer is 0, so then it'll say we're going to do each of the names. So we're going to do attack is whatever the attack number is. And IJ just means if I is 0 and J is 1, that means we're going to look for class stats. We're going to go to the 0th box. We're going to go to the first thing in it, which would be 5. That's all that means. It sounds complicated, but it is more simple than it seems. And then we're going to do star line 1, 1.5. Then we're going to back it up a bit. We're going to say P class is equal to check menu range. Question is choose your class. And it's class types. Then we're going to print out you have chosen plus class types P class. This P class now holds what number class we are in, plus exclamation. Now we got to set P stats, right? Because we know what the stats are that we need. So P stats is equal to class stats P class. And then we're going to do star line 2, 2. Print. Henceforth, you shall be known as plus P name plus the plus class types P class. And we'll do star line again. This time we'll do 1, 3. And then we're going to print a little blurb. You can make up anything you want for this blurb. This is just the thing I'm going with. So I actually already have something written. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with that. You can write whatever you want. And then we're going to do star line 1, 6. We're going to give you 6 seconds. All right. So yeah, we're going to run it and we're going to see what happens. I'm going to choose Tez. Welcome to the wonderful world of Magic Land, Tez. And then, it's going to print out our classes. Notice that it had a slight delay. We're going to choose our class. And let's go with Bonk Person. I've chosen Bonk Person. Sorry, I know you guys can't see anymore. We'll drag it up a little bit. I'll just drag it up in OBS, honestly, so that you guys can actually see. So it says you chosen Bonk Person from henceforth has to be noticed as the Bonk Person, and my little story goes. Long ago, in a time when anything was possible, there was a land called home. That was ironically home to a great warrior. But spooky things happen in the middle of home, and it's up to Tez, to save the day. Ending with our star lines again. So yeah, this concludes part 2 of the tutorial. I will see you guys in part 3. And if you guys like what's happening here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell, give it a share. And also drop a comment. Let me know if you guys are liking this. Tell me how your project is going. Tell me how to improve. This isn't going to be the last tutorial on this channel, so all the feedback I can get, I'll take. All right, thanks for watching.